welcome back to the Behind the Print podcast, where we feature industry leaders and uncover the creative minds and their businesses within the world of professional printing. Our mission is to provide you with inspiring, actionable resources that elevate your business projects and accelerate your journey to excellence in profit and in print. Today's episode is from page to plate, educating, connecting, and nourishing communities. And joining me here today is Grace Kanoy, board chair of the Davidson County Local Food Network. Welcome to the podcast.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. So if you're ready, let's just dive right in. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, by day, I'm a videographer, photographer, and one of the areas that we specialize in is farming and local food. And so as part of our community service, we are very much invested in the local food advocacy. And so our local nonprofit, Davidson County Local Food Network, I'm the board chair for that food council. And part of our outreach is local food education, as well as developing. It's also an economic development outlet for our farms for value-added products. And so that is where I am involved a lot when I'm not doing my day job.
How did you get involved with the Davidson County Local Food Network?
Well, actually, my husband and I are co-founders of the Food Network with our county health department and our cooperative extension. There are a few of us, I think that about 10 of us, a mixture of food advocates, health advocates, farmers. We started this group, and it's to sort of bring back local food, since people don't realize that we're shipping food from all over the world. And as a result, we sort of decentralize that from our own neighborhoods. And so we are in an ag county fundamentally. So we're in North Carolina in Davidson County. There's a farmer that it's Goat Lady Dairy, and it's in a neighboring county. And I heard him speak one time, and he said, everybody wants to change the world, but you can't change the world, but you can change your corner of the world. And with that, it was very accessible to me. And I thought, we can do small things. And if everybody does a small thing to make their communities better, then inevitably you change the world into a better place. And that sort of guided our direction. So for us, the low-hanging fruit was helping our local farmers and our farmers markets. That's where we started. And so we have gradually grown in a way that some of these farmers were ready to scale in a way beyond the farmers market. And so we started our Piedmont Fresh Food Hub initiative. And that part of our outreach is through social media, but also through printing. And many people feel that printing's outdated, but I'm a big fan of magazines. I'm a big fan of tactile, tangible things. But when you're doing printing, because it's an investment, you want to do quality. And so I'm a big fan of things like, I will save a magazine for a recipe. I will save it because it's beautiful and you want to look at it all the time. And also my background is photography and video. So I value imagery and I value storytelling because it resonates better. So that is basically, we kind of chose our low-hanging fruit. We chose the mediums that we were comfortable with and being able to reach out to our community.
So you mentioned farmers. What else can you tell me about your typical clientele?
Historically, this area was a lot of tobacco farming. Of course, tobacco has changed the industry. And yes, it was an agricultural industry area, but it wasn't really a sort of everyone did vegetable farming, but more for their households, not really from a commercial standpoint. They mostly did cotton and tobacco and maybe some commodity grains, which still happens. So there's this huge transition. And also we have a lot of farmers that are aging out. And so we have this new group coming in, and many of them may not have come from a farming background. And we're losing a lot of farms because it's a very difficult career. And we have this insurgence of young, new farmers who need all the help they can get. And so not only are you learning how to farm, but you're also learning how to run a business, which people forget. Like growing food is one thing, selling, managing logistics, all that is a whole other thing. I would say our main clientele would be the small farm as well as a medium-sized farm. And the small farm could be as small as an eighth of an acre, all the way up to maybe 25 acres, which isn't actually a lot of land, but you can feed quite a few people if you manage those farms correctly and if they have markets. And so that has been difficult in establishing markets year round for an industry that is dominated by thousands of acres and then overseas growing import and export. So that is who our main client is in terms of who we're advocating for in our area. Now,
So,
who we're targeting is basically everybody around us to get into the habit of buying local, basically.
so you mentioned it's the area essentially transitioned from tobacco to, foodstuffs. Was this transition, was this like a very quick transition or was it a very slow transition?
Oh, no, it's very slow. So, first of all, you have a lot of people who may own land, but they're not actually farming it anymore. So, we have several things working against us: commercial real estate event development, and then also land's expensive.
Hmm.
So, so here's the other thing. So, people don't get into it because you may not get a return on your investment for the investment of that property for farming. It's just the rate of return is much, much slower than if you did a housing development or if you did a data center or things like that. But when you're looking at the big picture, you really don't want to be shipping food from 3,000 miles away because we saw that disruption in COVID. And so from a food security issue, you really want to be able to have that available locally. And also, what if that area fails? You want to be able to have a backup of food from another area. And people don't think about that from this systemic point of view. And that's really what we're trying to establish. And we're not the only group. I mean, it's happening all around the nation. You have groups trying to rebuild what was once normal into something to be normal again.
Interesting. That's a great quote, being normal again. Going back to your clientele, what problems do you typically help them solve?
So when you say client, we have two types of groups that we are targeting. We're trying to help the farmers, but we're also trying to help the consumers. And food is very convenient. Fast food's convenient, convenience store, processed food, all those things are convenient. And so that's what we're essentially fighting against is this convenience. But what we're finding data is that ultra processed food is essentially killing us. And
Mhm.
that just going back to cooking. And so some of our outreach is about reconnecting people how easy it is to cook, or maybe just to eat more simply with fresh seasonal food from a health standpoint and from a community building standpoint. So there's really two target audiences, our farmers and then the consumer, because we need both ends. We need to improve supply and we also need people to buy it and to feel good about buying local from investing in your community and then investing in your health. We're trying to help the next generation of farmers. We have an aging farming population. And I'll give you an example. At our farmers market, our oldest farmers are like 93, 94, and they're still farming, but they're kind of semi-retired. And then you have this new group coming, they're in their 30s, 40s, and I dare say 50s, people who are semi-retired trying to think about a different career. And they don't come from a farming background often. So there's a lot of things that they need, both in understanding, first of all, choosing what are you growing? And this could be anything from microgreens to mushrooms to an apple orchard. And all of those things are very different. So there's a lot of education needed for farmers. And then once you grow it, then you have this whole food safety component, delivering it from the farm to the consumer. There's all this food safety elements that people don't realize to make sure that by the time you buy in the grocery store, that that's safe to eat. Because there's a lot of people touching that food along that food chain. So that's one area we're building. The second one is trying to increase demand to tell people, hey, by the way, you can just buy it right here. You don't have to go far. And also food seasonal, like you really only get apples in the fall. We're just lucky that we have a good logistics where you can get apples all the way from the West Coast. That's different season. We have refrigeration, all those things. So there's an education component that we have to work on as well. And we even also go so far as providing occasional cooking classes or getting partners to help us with those things. So that is like every single area of the farmer to the consumer. That's how you rebuild. And it's a slow and steady process. It's not a quick fix because, it may take, for example, one vegetable takes 120 days to raise. And if there's weather issues, that could fail and you can't replant it until the next season. So people don't understand the frailty of just growing food and how difficult that is. And then the other area, we also try to encourage people to do small gardens. So to get back to earth. And it sounds hippy dippy, but there's a pragmatic element to it, knowing where your food comes from, having a sense of control of what you're feeding yourself and taking control of your health, but also investing in your community. And
So it
and I just want to say this is not a quick fix. Like we have been doing this since 2014. So it's been a steady process and not everything works smoothly every year. And reaching people is very difficult to reach people and to sort of stick the solution. We have the solution, it's just spreading the wealth about how to solve this. And that public element is very difficult.
does the Davidson County Local Food Network, does that focus like primarily on growing produce, or does it also branch out into raising livestock?
Yes, anything agriculture, essentially. So we have several farms, whether they're doing sheep, goats, beef, chicken, turkey. Those are our mainstays. And then when we talk about chicken, it could be meat chicken or eggs. That's pretty much it. We have a rabbit farmer. That's not as common, although back in the day it was very common. So yes, and then also the way they farm, you want to make sure that they are considering soil health. So if the soil is healthy, their forage is healthy. If the forage is healthy, the animals are healthy. And when the animals are healthy, you don't have to use antibiotics. So many things actually come from the health of the soil fundamentally. And if the soil is healthy, everything else just falls into place. And there's only just more recently, there's more and more data regarding soil health and that the soil itself is almost like a living being. There's so many things going in there. And it's not just like putting fertilizer. There's real like microbial systems going on. And when they are healthy, the plant life is healthy. And so you can do a deep dive into that if you wanted to, but it's all related. And so, yes. And then there is a demand for the welfare of animals. So people are seeking meat from farms that treat their animals well.
Free
And
range and whatnot.
yes, free range, and even the way they free range. So there's a lot of regenerative agriculture. So you can take barren land, use animals to regenerate the soil quality by the way you graze them. There's so much there, so this is the interesting part in local food education. You don't want to overwhelm people, so you just give these little stories. And this storytelling is a way for us to educate the population, as well as, brand those farms and brand ourselves and do something meaningful in that storytelling.
Okay, that's interesting. You never really think about soil health. You never really
Mm,
think that it's alive, but when you really think about it, there are probably millions and millions of microorganisms living in there. And like you said, if they're happy, everything else is happy.
yeah. I mean, disease start really from the soil. Like if it's depleted, there's not lack of nutrition, that breakdown affects everyone all the way. Yeah, I don't want to go to that, go in a deep dive into that. But essentially, yes, it's all related. Health of the soul is health of the human being. You can't separate yourself.
It's almost like gut health in a way.
It's
If
exactly
Yeah,
like gut
exactly.
Yes, and the more diverse foods you eat for your gut biome, it affects your brain health and everything else in terms of your immune system. There's more and more research regarding that Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, it's all stemming from your gut health and diversity of food, eating better quality food also contributes to better health overall.
So you are a nonprofit, correct?
Correct. Yes.
How does Davidson County Local Food Network stand out from other nonprofits?
We call ourselves a network because we work with a lot of nonprofits. So we have a lot of partnerships and stakeholders. And in that sense, we're here to facilitate other organizations. That's the way we perceive our role. So, there's already a health department, there's already the cooperative extension. And what we are really good at is connecting resources to amplify the work they're already doing. And so that I think is a very distinguishing factor for us. We started in 2014, but we did not become a nonprofit until 2022. And part of the reason is we felt like we had to learn and understand our community before we could actually, I think, do real work. And people rush to start a nonprofit, and I think that's a mistake. I think you should become involved with what's existing already, and by doing so, you get to see who's doing the real work, what kind of help do they actually need? And then you would then, if you start a nonprofit, be able to fill what they're not fulfilling. So you're not recreating the wheel. And so we found that our greatest asset was connecting these resources. And that's why we're called the Davidson County Local Food Network. That's, I think, a very distinguishing factor is that we are here to amplify existing work and connecting it to build a stronger system overall.
Can you tell me how print has helped elevate your business?
It's interesting. People talk about social media, and that for me, that is one vehicle. That is one tool. But people do still love a physical element, something you can hand to someone like a gift, and something that they can refer to all the time, like a reference book. And so for us, the local food guide, it's that way of handing someone and say, look, in the middle, there's this directory. You can find all the farms. And then you amplify it with different stories. And so for me, print is not dead at all. I just think you have to, when you decide to do print, you need to put effort in the content if you're going to do a print job. When we hand these out, so we did an Earth Day, for example, and we handed these out, and people just loved it because it was very, so there's a tactile experience when you're
Hmm.
handing a booklet, a magazine, and then in it, it's like they open it up and say, look at these things that we have in here. And people were, I think it was a pleasant surprise. It's not just a brochure, it's a keepsake. And our goal is to make sure that this stays on their table for a while, that they can look at it over and over again. For example, locally here, we have a magazine called Our State Magazine, and people save that. And that's the kind of print that I want to be able to hand out representing our organization. It's both beautiful and it's helpful. Like those are the two things it needs to be, something of quality and something of use. And for us, when we hand out something tactile and it's this beautiful, people want to keep it and they refer to it. And we have had people tell us, oh, I keep all the issues. They're like, I keep all of it. And because it's useful and they have great stories in it and it has a directory. So there's several things going on that, but yeah, very, very relevant. And you know, people want to hold things, not just the phone. They want something that they can flip through. And there is an experience, I think, when you're doing something physically. And that's for me what print represents. And if I'm going to spend the money, I want to do it right.
We appreciate you printing with us. I also saw on your website that you have a couple thousand copies of that booklet all around Davidson County being handed out at farmers markets and other events.
Yes.
So even though it's not connected to the internet or something, it still goes to show it can spread far and wide.
Oh, yeah. And we have people like call and say, where can I get a copy? And we also put them at the tourism center. because you have new people coming into town and it's just like a one-stop shop. Like, so look how pretty this is,
Yeah, it turned
it's,
out great. Your gloss
oh, look,
finish, perfect
yeah, and
choice.
I appreciate you all because you check if our resolution's up to date. Like there's little things that you all do that make it easier for us, like our second set of eyes. So I'm a huge, huge fan. And so when I do these things, I want to make sure that it is like, so this is directory, but we do a lot of photography and I want to make sure that the pictures are impactful. So, this is a story about a farm and you want to make sure that it's beautiful and the quality. And then also people come to me, it's like, oh, the paper quality is so good. People
It
notice
is,
that. They still notice that. They can
yeah,
tell the difference.
a lot of people just view print as exclusively a visual experience, but it definitely has a tactile experience. The texture of the paper, it definitely makes an impact.
So this is probably our third year doing this. And we were able to get funding to continue it for another 3 years. So during that time, I was experimenting with different paper quality and people notice. So each issue in the first 2 years were different because I was trying to figure out, which one. So it's a cost thing. So how high quality can I go for the amount for my budget? And so I have had comment, they'll go, this one's different. Like people will tell me, oh, this one feels a little different. I think this paper is better. So people notice things, everyone, but definitely have made an impact that way. And we get, like, for example, today there's a fundraiser for the local news, and they emailed and say, can we get copies of your local food guide for our fundraising event? Because it's at a local store. It's all connected. Like, so it helps not just local food, but local businesses. And that's what we do best, right? We're helping everyone in our community. And they requested these. So that's like how proud I am to showcase these. And the fact that we have other people in the community asking for this to help with their whatever they're doing goes to show the quality. They definitely appreciate the physicality of this.
Well, we definitely appreciate you printing with us, and we appreciate you saying that. Can you tell me about any major milestones or accomplishments that have defined Davidson County Local Food Network or yourself?
Oh, now we'll keep it with Dave's Count Local Food Network. So a big milestone for us is Piedmont Fresh is our online farmers market. We have been steadily trying to build this as a complement to the existing farmers market because they're only seasonal and also expanding the market season for our farmers. So now we have an online farmers market called Piedmont Fresh, and we now have pickup sites in 5 different areas outside. 4 of them are outside of our county. So we're expanding from not just Davidson County, but going to neighboring counties to increase access to our farm. Because our farms are not just in Davidson County. Farms are in our region, just because there's not a lot of that. So
Yeah,
the
that was
fact that,
actually one of my questions. Is it
yeah,
restricted just to Davidson or is it the surrounding areas as
no,
well?
no. And it's impossible to just restricted to Davidson County. We need all the farms we can get. So we support a lot of the farms around Davidson County. So we're in the Piedmont Triad in North Carolina. And so really we have to look at this regionally. We just happen to start here, but that's not where our responsibility doesn't just lie with this county. It lies in trying to grow this in a way that it reaches as much in our region. That's how much we can handle right now. And there are other organizations that we work with and we share information, and they handle the Western North Carolina or they handle the Triangle. So there's a bunch of us doing this work, and we're hoping that we will fill in, all the gaps around the state. But we definitely are regional farmers, not just Davidson County, Forsyth, Rowan, Davie, Randolph, up north Guilford. So yeah. And so this local food guide becomes more important because we are now distributing in Forsyth County, and we hope to grow this to our goal is to get 10,000 copies. So right now we're 3,000. So we'd like to grow to 10,000 copies so we can then distribute this further into other counties and let other people know that we exist.
Well, we can definitely give you a hand with that. And it also sounds
Absolutely.
like it's a great little community.
Yes, it's wonderful, and the weather is beautiful today. So it's good.
Can you tell me about any challenges or obstacles that are holding you back right now?
There's always challenges and obstacles, especially when it comes to farming. So
Hmm.
we have weather is an obstacle. It's a little more unpredictable. And so I would say is our greatest challenge. And then it's about the constant challenges of being essentially, we treat ourselves as a small business, and you're trying to grow the consumer demand. And that itself is not easy. We're competing with the big grocery stores, basically. And it's definitely a David and Goliath scenario. So for us, we have to be patient, but at the same time consistent in our efforts and persistent. That's the only way. But yeah, weather and the fact that we're a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of our marketing budget.
Well, you can't control the weather, but you can definitely control the other
Yes.
thing, your budget. So, kind of a different question for you here. If you had a day completely free to spend however you'd like, how would you spend it?
Probably outdoors. Right now, the fall is about to hit in. So for me, if I had a full day, I would spend it all outdoors, probably in my garden. And then later, I'd probably go mountain biking. Something simple. I really enjoy just being outside.
Yeah, I imagine you guys are about to get all kinds of fall foliage as well.
Yes, yes, we are. It's a great time to visit North Carolina.
So, one last question for you. How can our listeners get in touch with you, collaborate more, learn more? What's the best way to get in touch?
So our website is davidsoncountyfood.com, and it will outline all of our services. You can donate. We are also hoping to have sponsors for our farm to pantry. So, most people have soup cans that they donate and stuff like that. Well, we hope that maybe you might donate $10 towards our fresh food fund. We've had a drop in sort of the support for our pantries, and we would love to be able to supplement what they have existing with fresh food. And so we have our fresh food fund. You can donate that at both Piedmont Fresh. If you live in this area, please become a customer of Piedmont Fresh. But if you're not, you can donate to Davidson County Local Food Network. And that money will go towards local food education, and it will go towards our farm to pantry programs.
Well, I'd say that's a wrap on another episode of Behind the Print. Thank you to our listeners for joining us as we explored the artistry and innovation of the printing world. Remember, having a strong vision, building the right strategy, and using tools like print to amplify your message will make your brand stand out from the crowd. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to get your sample pack today from PrintingCenterUSA.com and share it with your fellow business enthusiasts. Until next time, keep those creative sparks flying, and remember, there's always more to discover behind the print.